I'm John McCullough from PositiveLight.com, and we're here today at the 2013 research conference of the Ontario HIV Treatment Network, and I'm sitting today with Dr. Perry Halkitis. Perry is a professor at New York University who has just published a book called The AIDS Generation, Stories of Survival and Resilience. And this is a story that Perry has written, having spoken to 15 gay men who are long-term survivors of living with HIV, who actually were all diagnosed in the 80s, and so lived through that very dark era. And of course, these are the men who were responsible for so much of the advocating for the advances in science that allow all of us living with HIV today to be here and alive and surviving. So, Perry, tell us a little bit about the men that you've written about in this book.
So, first of all, thank you for having me here.
You're welcome.
The 15 incredible men that I write about in this book are men who have one thing in common. They're men who seroconverted or found out that they were living with HIV at a formative stage of their lives, in their 20s or early 30s, some in their late teens, in a time of little hope. This is what binds them. What binds them is that they were living with HIV through the 80s, through the 90s, to today, and they've survived and they continue to thrive. And other than that, they're very diverse men. They're diverse in terms of their walks of life. They're diverse in terms of their races and ethnicity, how they were raised, where they were raised. So what I attempted to do in the book is to identify 15 very different voices that captured 15 different experiences of gay men living through the darkest moments of the AIDS epidemic. What binds them again is their stories of survival,
right,
and
resilience
and amazement, and the strategies that they developed in a time of little hope to figure out how to make it from one day to the next.
So why did you write the book now? What motivated this to be the right time to write this book?
So this book has been living in my mind and in my heart for close to a decade. I've been doing HIV prevention work, working on the health of gay men for some 20 years, looking at how HIV and other health problems affect my population. And what I wanted to do 30 years into the epidemic was demonstrate that in the mix of all of these negative messages about who we are and what we do, there is a beauty in the strategies for survival, in the resilience, in the collective battle that a generation of gay men enacted together to survive this epidemic. And I think also, for me, historical documentation was absolutely key. I think it is very easy to forget what that period of time was like, and I wanted to portray that period through the words of 15 men who lived through it. I think finally for me, I turned 50 this year. I am a man who's living with HIV. So the story of these men is my story also.
Right.
And it was the time to write this book.
And of course, it was the story of all gay men, whether we were negative or positive in the 80s, because we were such a cohesive community at that time, because all of us, despite whatever our status, were fighting against this.
I completely agree. I think the term AIDS generation, I use it in many ways throughout the book. AIDS generation is certainly the men who became infected early on and continue to live to this day. It's also negative men. It's also the women and others who surrounded us and supported us. Our generation, who came of age at this time when this disease was decimating our society here in the United States and in Canada. And so we are collectively an amazing, brave, and powerful group of people.
Right. So it's really due to the activism of the kind of men that you write about that would all of us living with HIV today can live healthy lives, because HIV is different today. So I'm wondering what message this book gives to a younger generation of gay men.
Right.
What do you think they're going to take from this?
So I would say that for anybody who's newly diagnosed with HIV, there are many lessons to be learned from those who have been living with HIV for a long period of time. I would say first and foremost, the men who I spoke with talked about the ability to attend to their physical health, their emotional health, and their social health, attending to their whole selves. And that seemed like a critical element. It was not just about the treatments or the exercise, but it was about the time with therapists and counseling. It was about the formation of groups like ACT UP, where social cohesion was established. It was attending to all the parts of their lives. So I would say for a person who's newly diagnosed, encompass all of those elements in your health. Number two, do not define yourself solely by being an HIV positive person. HIV is a manageable and treatable disease, and it is part of one's identity, but not all of one's identity. And I think the other thing that I would say is absolutely critical in thinking through living with HIV, establishing a close, powerful relationship with your healthcare provider, not depending on your healthcare provider to direct you, but becoming a partner with your healthcare provider and making decisions that are smart and that are right for you and for your lifestyle.
Right. So I would certainly say this is a book that every gay man should read, and at the end of this interview we'll be putting on the screen the details of the book, so how you can buy it, but I can say it's available on Amazon and here in Canada on indigo.chapters.ca. So thank you so much, Perry, for talking to us. And
thank you for having me.
Good luck with your book.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'm John McCullough for the OHTN and PositiveLight.com.